Your Brad Pitt lookalike, Dr. Jason Miller here, with a little video on this, what I'm calling the seasons of body weight. And that sounds kind of silly, but whether you're trying to gain weight or lose weight or maintain weight, understand there's going to be some seasons that occur. Some of them, these seasons are seasonal, in the sense that if you especially live in a colder climate, the winter months, you're probably less active. Typically the holidays, depending on what hemisphere you're in, fall in those colder months. And so it's not something that it should shock you if you see a little bit of bloat accumulation or have a harder time fending off that bloat accumulation during those colder months. And the point of what I'm going to get at when I'm going to talk about some of these different seasons is, don't be surprised by these numbers changes. Don't be discouraged. And I know that's like, well, you don't be discouraged. Don't tell me what to do. I'm trying to encourage you not to be discouraged and understand that, when I do diet consulting, a lot of times like, oh my gosh, the scale jumped. What happened? Why is it up 3 pounds? Did I blow my diet? Have I regained all the weight I lost? And the answer is no, right? Now, over time, if you do this for 4 months and you regain the weight, well, sure. But if you understand there's some seasonal things that occur, whether that's over the course of a few weeks or that's over the course of a day or two, if you understand these seasons, you can better get your mind around the idea that there's going to be bloat. There's going to be times there's going to be times I have to work harder in order to get the bloat off, or there are going to be fluctuations throughout a week that I need to be aware of to stay on top of if I'm accumulating bloat over time and it's starting to stick around. Okay, so here's some of the seasonal changes. I mentioned one already, which is the actual seasons. Knowing that you're going into the winter months where could be less activity, then looking to increase activity in some way, whether that's home gym. A lot of people are expanding their home gym selections or having a home gym or getting to the gym more often, or looking for activities that you can do outside even when it's cold. It's doing them safely. Don't fall on the ice, right? That's what I'm talking about. Understanding that if the holidays and the cold weather are conspiring against you to cause bloat and to make your weight loss harder, then start to look at your diet during those times and say, maybe I need to adjust my diet to a higher protein, higher vegetable diet than I usually would. That would create some margin then for having those off-plan meals or off-plan items like the Christmas cookie or whatever it might be. That's something you could look into. Okay, when late October comes or whatever it may be, wherever you live, I need to shift my diet a little bit. And we don't usually typically think about like in those manner, like, well, I just eat what I eat and whatever. And then, oh no, the cookies started appearing, and so I started eating all of them. Well, the idea of periodization is that there's periods in which you do different things. And, in the training world, a lot of it's accommodating for fatigue, not accommodating, but helping to dissipate fatigue for the next cycle. But we have the same idea when it comes to nutrition. Many times it's in a sports science type of parameter, like, oh, I need up my carbs now or whatever it may be. But we can look at it, though, in terms of weight loss, weight maintenance, is knowing that there's times that I'm more active. I could have more carbohydrates as part of my diet, healthy carbs, because I'm more active. I'm outside. I'm working in the yard. I'm doing whatever. I'm going on vacation, blah, blah, blah. It's an active vacation. I'm going to Disneyland or whatever that somebody might be doing. Just general more activity. I'm walking more, whatever. We see weight loss tend to be a lot easier, and it comes off easier when the months are warmer, because you can go for a walk and you can go outside. You don't have to you're not relegated to a more sedentary posture. Now, again, some of you like to snowshoe and ski, and that's a little different. The point is an understanding that. And so when we get shut inside a little bit more, or even during a lockdown, know that you need to change your diet in order to increase and accommodate that potential bloat accumulation because of a loss of physical activity. So increase protein, increase vegetables, pull back on the carbohydrates a little bit more because you don't need them as much. And then, your training day, even though, might be more carbohydrate rich, and so on. So some more acute things. Nothing bloats. This is something my diet clients have heard. If they've had some bloat sessions here, is nothing bloats like sodium and alcohol. And if they're together, it's even worse. So expect that, any off-plan meal, if you're meal prepping, whatever, when I say off-plan, any prepackaged meal is going to have a lot of sodium. You'd be surprised if you look at a food label, even something healthy like lentils, you think, oh, it's healthy. They have 500 milligrams of sodium. The recommended upper bound for somebody who's not training a lot is 2,500 milligrams. Now, if you're training and sweating a lot, it can be higher than that. But if you're clearing 5,000 milligrams a day and you're not doing anything, you're hauling around that's a lot of sodium. But I've seen people carry that. That's a lot of bloat. So even getting rid of that sodium, you're going to see the scale move, depending on how big you are and what else you're doing. It depends on how much it moves, but it will move down. So if you have a glass of wine and a processed meal, you're going to see the scale jump the next day. Okay. Especially if you weren't physically active. And I say you're gonna, that's pretty absolute. So likely you're going to see the scale move up. So don't be surprised. And aside of that, don't be afraid to eat those things. If you're like, hey, I'm on maintenance, or I'm just trying to maintain a healthy diet, but I like to eat cheeseburgers and have a beer once in a while. Well, have a cheeseburger and beer. Just know the next day you're going to have some bloat. What does that mean then? Okay. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit. So other things that cause bloat: sleep, lack of sleep, high stress. Those usually go together. And then, not surprisingly, bad food choices go together with that, especially high carb, low quality carb foods. High sodium foods tend to go with those things. So these kind of spiral and conspire against you as well. You can't put yourself into this situation of, if you have something stressful in the winter around the holidays, or you're just enjoying off-plan meals and a lot of alcohol and things like that, well, you're going to pick up a lot of bloat. Okay. So know that that's going to happen. And I'm going to give you, well, that's great. What do I do about it? Okay. But sleep. Don't underestimate the power of sleep. 7 hours a night minimum. If you get less than that, you can see bloat. If you're a high-stress person, if you get easily stressed out, you will have a harder time losing weight. The research, I'm not just saying that because I see it with clients I work with, but I'm telling you that we have some research literature that supports this idea too, that high-stress people that tend to deal with stress in a more wound-up way tend to hold on to bloat more, okay? Other things that cause bloat: training. If you have a damaging session of training, if you're sore, that can cause bloat. There's no doubt about it, okay? If you are dieting and have any other configuration going on here, you're challenging your reserve, right? Your recovery reserve. And so dieting can slow the scale down itself because it's stressful. So I've had clients that are trying to diet, work 12 hours a day, sleep 4 hours a night, highly stressed, not eating real well. And right, that diet, not eating real well, means they're not eating a lot of food. That diet, or not eating on time, is hurting them. Like, that's just not a time to cut. That's not a time to try to lose weight. That's just time to maintain. It's not a time to try to go to the gym and crush every session. That's a time to get 30 minutes and just be done with it so you can go home and sleep. Right? There's this balance that has to be struck. Okay? Now, I don't want to go wander in the weeds too much here, but the point is, I just want you to make aware of the seasons of bloat. Monday's always a higher weigh-in, no matter what. Well, that's not fair. That's not true. I have clients that don't have that. And we have research literature to say, though, on average, I'm making absolutes again, I got to stay out of that. On average, Monday is the highest weight of the week. Coming off the weekend, less strict on the meal choices, right? Whatever it may be, less sleep, alcohol, pick something to the list I just gave. That tends to produce more bloat on a Monday. So just know that going in, Monday is going to be the worst way. And don't get discouraged if you're losing weight, if the scale stalls out or you don't see much movement on Monday, or even if it goes up a little bit. Okay, know that bloat comes off. Now, what do you do? And those are just some of the things. Those, in any combination of those, are going to make bloat that much more significant. Okay, so like I mentioned before, in the winter, not sleeping, stressed out, training too hard, cutting weight, blah, 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 you pick something and you're going to see bloat. Moving is another one, man. People, when you move, a lot of it has to do with your food choices are poor. You're starving, so you eat processed food, a lot of sodium, right? Stressful, lack of sleep, yes to all. Sedentary in some cases, if you're driving long distance, it just depends on the move, but that can be a bloat-making machine as well. All right, so what do you do about it? It's a simple answer, but it's going to require discipline and some focus. And many times when we deal with weight, we look for different programs because we want to find something that's easy. Now, there are easier ways to do things. If you eat healthiest food you can afford, you can eat a lot of food, so that can help with hunger. That can make that easier. But the reality is that at some point we have to have discipline to say no, or take control for a time to say no. There's no way to get around that. It's trying to figure out how to say no consistently, okay, and make better choices consistently. But you still have to say no. So this is what I mean with that. So when bloat comes on quickly, but it comes off quickly if dealt with immediately. So if you have a bad weekend, and I don't want to say bad weekend, if you had a great weekend and you had a good time with family and you had some, if you like to drink, you had a few drinks and you ate some food that was wonderful, it tasted great. You stayed up too late talking about the old day, whatever. Okay, pick something. It was a wonderful weekend, and you pick up 5 pounds of bloat on Monday. You're like, whoa. But you knew that. You knew that was going to happen. Still had a great time. Didn't feel bad a bit about it. But you know that when Monday comes, and again, being very careful, mindful not to get in this I'll pay myself back later type of thing. You didn't try to purposely bloat up over the weekend. You just enjoyed yourself. And your mind was like, well, I'll just go crazy because no, I'm not talking about binging. I'm talking about you just had a nice meal. You had a glass of wine, you had a beer or two because that was what you enjoyed in the situation. That's fine. I'm not talking about an all-out binge just because you want to. But you expected some bloat, so you come back on Monday and you get on some sort of plan, whatever you're working off of. The centerpiece being high protein, high vegetables. Okay? Vegetables don't have a lot of sodium in them. They'll fill you up, and so you'll stay away from sodium foods. Right? Protein, same thing. It'll fill you up. It'll keep you from over-consuming. Okay? And basically what you're doing then is you're pushing down carbohydrates and fat consumption while maintaining control and reducing sodium, maintaining control of caloric load. You do that for a 3 to 5 day stretch. If you're training consistently on top of that, not perfectly, but just consistently, you'll see the bloat come off by the next weekend. Now, you could say, well, aren't you entering a cycle of bloat on the weekend and getting off in the week? If you're on maintenance, that's great. What's wrong with that? I don't see anything wrong with that. The problem becomes when we have these big yo-yos. So we gain 5 pounds, leave it on, then we add more 5 pounds, and then all of a sudden, oh, now I should do something. Now I gain 20 pounds. That's a bigger yo-yo. These small modulations every week is nothing wrong with that. During the week, things tend to be more rigid. Not always, but they tend to be. And so that's a great time to make headway and get the bloat off before the next weekend. Now, if you notice bloat is starting to accumulate and you're not getting it off in time before the next meal, maybe it's midweek or whatever, then you're going to have to be even more strict and more mindful of your weight as you move through the week. I would highly recommend weighing yourself every day. Now, some people can't handle that, and that's okay. Like emotionally, if you can't handle the ups and downs, then don't do it. But if you can weigh every day, you kind of know where you're at every day. There's some bloat, there's some bloat down from day to day. You're a little dehydrated, whatever. But if you see the trend, if you jump 5 pounds and then you've got 2 off one day, well, I'm still kind of high. I better be kind of mindful what I'm doing. The next day, still not quite there yet. And then by Thursday, you're like, I'm back down to that pre-weekend bloat. And I might even go a little bit further. I'm happy where I'm at. I'll relax my diet again. And usually I don't have that third whatever for the day, or I don't have that fancy coffee in the afternoon in the last few days. I'll have it today because I have the margin for it. That's how you regulate a diet without being so restricted or screw it that it's miserable. Okay, it's possible to do that, but you have to understand what causes bloat and know that it's bloat, and know that if it's dealt with quickly, it can be removed quickly. If it's not dealt with, that's when the problem comes. And how do you know if you're dealing with it? That's where the awareness piece comes about the scale. Where does the discipline come in? You got to take action. When you see bloat that's on, take action. You have to be disciplined. It doesn't mean you have to be disciplined forever. It doesn't mean I can never eat that or drink a beer ever again. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means for a stretch, you need to reset the scale. Okay? That's common sense in some ways, right? But a lot of times we want our cake and eat it too. We want our cake every day and eat it too. And that's just not realistic. That's not going to happen. Okay? That is just not going to happen. But the good news is you still can have cake. You just might not be able to have it every day the way you want it, right? And if you eat as healthy as food as you can get and learn how to prepare that food well, healthy food tastes really good too. You don't need to eat cake all the time. I like cake, by the way, but I don't eat it every day, okay? And so if I see bloat, I'm going to be honest, like right now, I came off a weekend where I had a birthday party I went to, and I had a cupcake that I shouldn't have had, maybe, and I say shouldn't, but I enjoyed every bit of it and had a good time with family. I have some bloat to deal with, so I'm dealing with it this week. And by Thursday, it should be gone and should be back in good shape heading into the weekend or Friday or whatever. And I may not necessarily get more bloat over this next weekend, but I'm in good shape if I do want to enjoy food. Now, if I was on a cut, I'd have to be more mindful. If I'm trying to lose weight, I'm going to have to be more mindful on the weekend. Sure, I'm going to have to be more restrictive. But that restrictive type approach isn't going to last forever. And I know that too when I'm trying to lose weight, okay, or when a client's trying to lose weight. Just keep in mind, you're not going to cut forever. You can't. Nor should you. And that's where a lot of people run into trouble is they try to cut. And then when they get to where they want to go, or they get to a weight that maybe isn't realistic and not sustainable, they don't know what to do when they're down there. Maybe that's you. Well, my basic advice to you here would be jack up the protein and vegetables as you try to find an equilibrium and what is a healthy weight for you. All right? All right. I could talk I could get into a lot of different tributaries here. I'm just going to stick with this, and I've already kind of wandered a little bit as it is, but I wanted to at least hit on these, understanding the cycles of bloat, understanding the seasons of bloat, know when it comes on, and expect it. Don't be surprised. Understand the main bloat makers. And then when the bloat arrives, don't be shocked. Just take action. Be aware of it. Take action. Get it off, and you're in good shape then to relax your diet again. Or if you're cutting, then you might need to limit a little bit more. Not to have so much bloat accrue, so you're going nowhere. You're just spinning your wheels. But if you have a cheat meal or something like that, expect there to be bloat. Know what it is and deal with it quickly, and you'll be on your way. All right. I'll see you in the next video. Be sure to check out my other videos and big library of, I don't know, what's big is relative. I don't know. I keep saying like 65 videos. It's probably more than that now. Training and fitness and diet, nutrition, you name it. Journal club, book club. Check it all out. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.